All right, welcome back to the channel. Shop's clean, van's clean, so that can only mean one thing. We're kind of wrapped up with it. Clients are going to show up here in a little bit to take delivery of it. What we've got here is a 1996 Ford Econoline E350 extended, so I think that's the 15-passenger van. And then back in '96, Sportsmobile added a pop top to it, and it wasn't a full conversion. It was just a weekender. And so the only thing that it had was the pop top added. A little bit of modifications made to the rear heating and cooling system, but otherwise stock van down below with just the pop top so that you could stand up and have the bedding up above. So no electrical system was ever added to this van, or at least like what we know of now as a camping system. So no extra batteries. There was a couple extra lights, but they're old. Back in '96, those were fluorescents. So what we've done to this van is we have added kind of a kit so that they can take the seats out and they can put in 2 bunks, a galley, and then in the back we have permanently attached the electrical system and a refrigerator. So I'm going to walk you through this and hope you like it. Give us any comments if you like what you see. If you have any questions, you can hit us up either in the comments here on YouTube, or you can send us an email. And yeah, hope you appreciate this. Hope you like it. Hope it inspires you. We're always here for you, so just let us know if we can be of help. But we've had fun with this one, and we're excited to get it out to the clients who want to just keep this van going. It's got really low miles, so it still has a lot of value. They've kept it in really good shape. So there's no reason not to invest back into this van, especially given how expensive new vans are and even how hard they are to get a hold of. So I think, yeah, it's been a good project. So I'll show you around and see what you think. Cheers. So as you can see, we just popped the top on this. Really changes this van. I think if it wasn't a pop top, it wouldn't have. We wouldn't have been able to do all the things that we did to it, or at least it wouldn't have made sense to. All right, first stop, I thought I'd show you the galley. I could stand in here. We do have standing height, but just for sake of the film, we'll just kind of do it down low here. But this is more or less a standard height. This is, I think, 31, 32 inches. So kind of like your typical vanity height. If we were to go any higher, being as though this needs to work when the ceiling or when the roof is down as well as up, it would be too high. Plus we have the window here that's low. So different than what we see in the Transits and Sprinters and ProMasters. We kind of have to keep everything a little bit lower. But we made this galley so that it's removable. You'll see it's got the electronics here. So it's got an AC plug, a 12-volt plug, and USB plugs. Those all plug into the wall. So I have some outlets that are permanent in the wall. And then I have some just cords that plug the 12-volt and the 110 AC into those plugs. So the cool thing is when they take this out, if they want to put a bench seat back in here, those plugs will still be there and usable for both the 110 AC that comes off the inverter or the 12-volt. The 12-volt is an SAE plug. That's what we see on a lot of the extension solar panels and things, but makes for a good extension cord type of plug. So we have an undermount stainless steel sink, Corian countertop. This build was meant to be, again, this needs to come out. So what that means is all of the plumbing is captured within this galley, and so this whole galley can come out. So we have the undermount stainless steel sink. It's got 9 inches of depth, so it's still a really usable sink. And then we have a pump faucet that just works on hand pumping, and so that's how you would get some water out. So it's not an electrified system, and it's just meant for kind of low flow, washing your hands, washing some dishes, and using it sparingly. So again, kind of more in that weekender theme, but definitely usable over a long camping trip or an extended road trip. So we have the removable top that comes out of there, and then enough counter space with a lip that we put on it, just so things wouldn't roll off and kind of go into what is either the bench or a bed, or back into this area that's hard to get to. On the drawers, as always, we do dovetail birch drawer boxes. And then this actually was the cutting board that came with the sink and could store there, but we thought it would be really cool, and it just worked out size-wise, if we put it here and then we made it to where it can slide back, so you can still access any silverware or cutlery under there, and then but then have this while you're working here. You would have an additional cutting board, or it works as if someone is sitting in this area, it gives them a place to set food or drink. So we like how that worked out. We use these stainless steel slam latches on this build. Really happy with how those are turning out and how they're working. So far, my favorite type of latch to use. And so just 3 additional drawers, the bottom drawer being a reduced depth because of the fuel filler on the outside of the van comes through and is in the back of this, so we had to work around that. And then on the inside we have, and you won't be able to see it, but I'll take another photo or a video and overlay it here, but we have 2 5-gallon tanks, one for fresh water and one for gray water. And I was able to work out a system that's fairly quick release, that allows you to take these tanks out and then fill them up, empty the gray water, and then put it back in. We also made sure, since the tanks look identical, that we labeled them so they have a fresh water or a fresh on the water tank and a gray on the gray water tank, just so that you can keep the tanks clear on which one's which. Again, the intent of this is that it can be removable. So by taking these tanks out, there's 2 bolts under here that actually use the factory seat bolt locations, which needed to be accessible so that they could put seats back in. So we just use those in the design. So we have 2 under here, and the other 2, you pull this drawer out and you get the other 2 out, and that's how the cabinet's removable. Then on the back side, we have some handle holds cut into the back of the cabinet, and makes it to where you can take it in and out. It's a 2-person job at least, so it's not meant to come in and out like every day, you know, or any day. So you have to be intentional about it. But pretty stoked with how it turned out. Next, I will show you the bed system. All right, as you can see, we have kind of a driver's side bunk and a passenger side bunk. Both of these are cut around the fender wells and have just storage cubbies in them. The clients wanted these pretty simple. You see there are 2 of the bolts that hold this cabinet in. There's another 2 toward the rear. Also, the holes in the back of the cabinet, those are specifically designed to let the heat from the rear heat and air come through, and then with the adjustable shelf, they can load things into the area above that and still allow the heat to come through. So definitely something to consider if you're working on a passenger van, is how that area is going to move. And then on the passenger side, a very similar cabinet, but just not as deep so that it lines up with the door. This is a couple that one is shorter than the other, so the taller of the 2 can sleep on the driver's side. That is just about 6 feet, and the shorter of the 2 can sleep on the passenger side. And now let me unfold it. All right, and then with that center unfolded, you now have a full-size sleeping platform. So the clients are going to take care of making the cushions for this. So it'll be a total of 3 cushions, and they'll all be able to stack to one side or the other so that you can make this fold out happen. So it gives you some seating while in camp mode, gives you some sleeping obviously, and then it also gives you a step to get up into the upper area should people be sleeping up there. As you can see with this Sportsmobile, that is the rear cushion that stays in the down position, and then where it's white right here is the bulk of the bed that is now currently hanging. It's suspended up there. It will go down and it will be on that shelf as well, giving you sleeping for 2 adults up there quite easily. So pretty cool setup. While we're up in this part of the van, things that we've added are these lights here. If you've seen my other builds, I've been using these. Nice little accent light. I think they're pretty classy. They swivel in, out, do a lot of things. They have a red light version that you can turn on. And then if I press and hold that, it will dim the light as well. We have those at all 4 corners of this bed area. That's just to allow sleeping in any configuration. Also just some accent lighting depending on where you need it. And then we've also added the Max Air fan and 2 lights in the rear. That will be accessible both when the top is down and when the top is up, especially if you have people sleeping in the upper part of up in the loft, then they have some lights available to them as well as a fan. And then we'll come over here, and then we added a second Max Air fan here in the front and an additional 2 lights. I went with lights that had their own switches and dimmers on the lights itself. That way, if you were up in the bunk or down below, you'd be able to control them, and you wouldn't have to worry about finding the switch or knowing what you were doing ahead of time. So the bulkheads that you see here, those are permanent. Those will not come out of the van. So really all we've deleted is the ability to put the final last row of seats back into this van. So those are permanent. The black register there, that is the air conditioning outlet for the factory rear AC. Okay, here we are at the back of the van. Let's see, this area over on the passenger side here, that was intentionally left open. That's a future home for like a cassette toilet or a composting toilet, to be determined. So the clients didn't really want to put anything there yet, but did want that space. Also just a place where they can change clothes or wash up if needed. So pretty good spot for that. Like I said, that bulkhead is permanent. You do have the window there. They will be adding curtains to this system. And then on this side is where we have all of the electrical tucked, as well as this really nice isotherm refrigerator. So it's a very typical kit for me. It's the Renogy system, where I've got 2 100 amp hour lithium ion batteries, a 2000 watt Renogy inverter charger controller, the 50 amp DC to DC solar and alternator charger, and yeah, so pretty common for what we do. I really like how the system sets up. On this panel we've got a GFCI, so that's our first plug coming out of the inverter. Gives us a little protection should anything get plugged in that shorts out. It's going to trip that GFCI. Then we've got a USB, a 12 volt. The isotherm, you can buy and add on a external control panel. That way you can control the fridge without opening it. So you have a positive on-off button as well as temperature settings. So a little bit more dialed in than the analog dial that is comes stock with it.
And then we have a Renogy Bluetooth monitor, not Bluetooth, but just the battery monitor that's designed for the smart lithium-ion batteries. And then in the middle there is your switch. You notice the perforations that we put on everything, that is just to allow air to escape. So the refrigerator creates a fair amount of heat. We want that to be able to rise and come out the back. Similarly, we have airflow to go through the cabinet, and it comes out the backside and then goes through into the bench cabinet as well. And then we have perforations on the panel in front of the inverter, as well as access to the control panel on the inverter. On this panel, we have, this is a kind of where all the switches are. So we've got the master battery on off. This is the fuse for the DC to DC converter. And then we've got circuit breakers on the solar alternator and shore power, as well as a Blue Sea Systems fuse block. So easy to get to should anything break, or if they want to add extra electrics onto the system. So pretty tidy. Stoked with how this one turned out. Let me know what you think. All right, we're going up now. Show you the top of the fiberglass top from Sportsmobile. So again, back in 1996, they didn't have these deluxe max air fans, and they didn't have solar panels available for vans either, I don't think. So we had fun with this. The client came down and actually put some Raptor liner to get a fresh, kind of good coat of finish on top of this fiberglass. It had oxidized a bit, so needed a little bit of love. So he put the Raptor liner on there here at the shop. And then we designed this aluminum rack and had some buddies make here down in Eugene to allow us to cut the two 14-inch holes for the fans, which is where the mounting points are for this system. And then in between those two, we can then mount the solar panels. So with only the two 14-inch cutouts cut into the top, we were able to mount this whole system. And it's really, really burly. So really stoked with how it turned out. These are Renogy 170 watt monocrystalline panels. So total of 350 watts should be plenty for what these guys are doing, and should work good for years to come, and allow them to be out for many days without auxiliary power. Can't say enough about the Max Air Deluxe fans. Not only do they have the nice remote for the inside, but they allow use in the rain, which I think is critical, especially when in a rain climate like we have here in the Northwest. If you want to get out in the winter, you need a way to have ventilation, even if it's raining outside. So definitely a good fan to use. One thing I did find out is if you have two Max Fan Deluxes with the remote, they do not have unique remote signals, so one remote will work them both. That can be good or bad. I was actually hoping that one remote would be for each, but in this case, it'll work. The van's small enough that you can have the remote kind of in the middle of the van and control them both. And you can always manually override it at the fan if you want to have one running and not the other. So they are independent, but with the remote, it might get a little funky sometimes.
Well, there you have it. There's a tour of the pop top. And we've had a lot of fun with this van. As you can see, it's got a lot of different stuff than we're used to doing, especially that whole paradigm of being able to remove everything. So I think we've knocked it out of the park, and we're excited to see the client's reaction here in a little bit. So hope you're well, hope you follow along. We have some really cool stuff coming out. We've got an F-250 project that I did a video on before, kind of telling you what I was thinking about doing. Well, we're actually gonna get to do it now. So please follow along, please subscribe, it means a lot to us. Help us take this channel to the next level. The more feedback we get, the more we can do. both monetarily and just like we're inspired. So when people follow us, it gives us a vote of confidence to keep doing it and keep rolling. So again, thank you. We're so blessed to have you following along. The fact that you watched this video means a lot to me, really does. Your comments, I try to get back to every one of them. So it's me, my buddy Eben. We're here, we're busting it all day, every day, trying to just create stuff with our hands and our minds, and we're just having a blast doing it. So again, please follow along. Good stuff coming, and hope you're well. See you.